Hi! So this is a new feature I've decided to call Tea and Poetry, where I drink tea and talk about poetry. The tea of the day is a Turkish apple tea. So in this one I'm going to talk about my poetry beginnings. I mostly met poetry at school actually, like most people I think. But then at 15 I bought a couple of collections of modern Norwegian poetry, and I was really surprised at the fact that poetry could be like that. It could speak to my heart, it could play with words in a really good way, and I loved the images that these poems could conjure. I'm going to read you a poem from each of the collections I bought. This poem is from Napp by Olava Bitnes. It's in Norwegian, so you'll just have to bear with me. Glansnummer. Midnattssolen fanger nattesøvnen i gyllen lasso. Viser sitt glansnummer for døgnville. I just love the simplicity of this poem, and I didn't know poetry could be so simple and so image-rich. It's like the author is just playing with words and having fun with it. The next poem is from Løvetannfangeren by Hege Furumo Restad. Bærer nøklene rundt halsen. Håpet ligger i en skuff som aldri låses. I think this poem really shows what poetry can do. It can express things that can't really be expressed in words. So you can express a feeling that's so subtle that you don't have a word for it, and it can be done in poetry. So after I'd bought these collections, I started looking around the house for some more poetry. And I found poetry written by my great-grandfather. My great-grandfather wrote a lot of songs and poetry, and he gathered some of it in this book, and it's called Dryppsten. It's not in print and you can't get it, sorry. I'm going to read an excerpt from a poem he wrote about his daughter, my grandmother, when she was born. Du kom hit på ukjente bølger, du her på ukjent frist. Men med alle gåter du dølger, det som en lysning deg følger fra livssentrets evige gnist. It was fun to discover that my ancestor had such a way with words, and I was completely drawn in, and I love his humour. Not very apparent there, but apparent in lots of other of his poems and songs. And this book was kind of a window to the past and to my past. Then came quite a long break where I didn't find any poetry to read, and I didn't read much. I discovered some short snippets of poetry on Tumblr, but that was basically it. So I decided I wanted more poetry in my life, and I went out and bought this collection, which is The Nation's Favourite Poems, the 100 favourite poems of the people of Great Britain. And I certainly found a lot to love in this book. This is also my recommendation if you want to get into poetry. Buy yourself one of these, a collection of the best poetry of the year or something like that. Some curated collections with a lot of different poets. This book really taught me what I like in poetry and what I don't like, and it set me on the path to find poets that I like. I'm going to read a poem from this book by Walter de la Mare. Silver. Slowly, silently now the moon walks the night in her silver shoon. This way and that she peers and sees silver fruit upon silver trees. One by one the casements catch her beams beneath the silvery thatch. Couched in his kennel like a log, with paws of silver sleeps the dog. From their shadowy coat the white breasts peep, of doves in a silver-feathered sleep. A harvest mouse goes scampering by, with silver claws and silver eye, and moveless fish in the water gleam, by silver reeds in a silver stream. I love that poem for its soft, sort of sleepy quality and the focus on nature and a sort of soft escape from whatever I'm doing. So you should expect more of these, more poetry, more tea drinking. I'll see you next time. Ha det!
Now the tea is cold and almost gone.